This week in the enterprise security news, Platform9 unburdens users from the complexities of Kubernetes. Swimlane raises $40 million. SonicWall is hacked by a 0-day in its own product? ? Deloitte Buys Root9B. Cygilant and SentinelOne form a partnership. Fortinet announces AI-powered XDR. AlgoSec announces updates to its A32 product. ESET launches enhanced cloud-based endpoint security management. Entrust acquires HyTrust. A lot of trust happening there. LogRhythm acquires MistNet, and Huntress acquires EDR technology firm Level Effect. In the second segment, we welcome Frederick Norberg Almaroth. He's from Detectify. He wrote the article that was discussing his research into DNS hijacking with the goal of controlling a top-level domain. In the final segment, Alan Alford from the Cyber Ranch podcast joins us for a discussion on the ever-popular topic of supply chain security. Stay tuned for all that and more on this episode of Enterprise Security Weekly. This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where we talk security vendors and aren't afraid to name names. It's Enterprise Security Weekly. As your attack surface stretches from the data center to the cloud and the device edge, security teams need visibility across it all to confidently detect and respond to threats. Experience frictionless hybrid security that helps you stop breaches 84% faster with ExtraHop's Reveal X360, the first and only SaaS-delivered network detection and response. Explore the interactive demo at securityweekly.com/ExtraHop. Face it, your data is everywhere. No matter where your data lives or what tools you use, Imperva Data Security unifies compliance, security, and privacy needs for any data store while saving you time and money. Imperva finds threats before they become a compliance or security incident, and built-in automation empowers you to remediate quickly. Give your business confidence about what is happening with your data, where it's stored, and who's accessing it. For a 30-day free trial of cloud data security, visit securityweekly.com/Imperva. Can we continue to function without facts? Cybercriminals exploit the absence of facts, harming organizations through the easiest point of entry, email. No company should claim they can stop all phishing attacks. It's about having all the facts in seconds and reducing the time it takes to respond. It's minutes versus hours in the difference between a security incident and a breach. Great Horn. See through the dark. To learn more, go to securityweekly.com/Greathorn. Welcome to Enterprise Security Weekly, episode number 214, being recorded on January 27th, 2021. I'm your host, Paul Asadorian, joined remotely by Adrian Sanabria. Adrian, welcome. Oh, I think you're on mute. Oh, there you are. That was weird. It was like there was like a delay.
Yeah, and I'm even in the same time zone. I don't know.
No, it looks good now. I just needed to catch up with itself. You're good. Welcome, Adrian. Mr. Tyler Shields is here with us. Tyler, welcome.
Hopefully my bits won't delay as they traverse the internet.
That's right. Make sure your bits don't delay. That's important. Do you have a specific guest or topic that you'd like us to cover on one of the shows? Submit your suggestions for guest by visiting securityweekly.com/guest. Complete the form. We review suggestions on a monthly basis and reach out once they're reviewed. I'm also kind of on a mission since we do have some slots to fill. So if you get a message from me like on LinkedIn or a Twitter DM, it's probably because I want you on the show. So some lucky individuals will get a personal invite on the show. Learn how to conquer cloud complexity in our first webcast of 2021. Myself, Adrian, and Dr. Mike Lloyd from Red Seal are doing a webcast tomorrow, actually, at 11 a.m., talking about how to conquer the cloud complexity problem. Of course, we'll talk about epidemiology, how that relates to cloud complexity and how to solve it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you tune in for nothing else than me, Adrian, and Mike really just kind of hanging out and talking. Our preparation for this webcast has been so much fun. I can't wait for tomorrow. Let's see. Go to security. Oh, sorry, Adrian. Did I get something wrong? I feel like it is tomorrow, right?
I was just going to say, Yeah, no, it's tomorrow. I was just going to say, to give you an idea, like every time we have a conversation with this guy, we're like, damn, we should have recorded that.
Right? Yes. Tomorrow we get to record it. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
SecurityWeekly.com/webcasts. Of course, if you missed any of our previous webcasts, you can go to SecurityWeekly.com/on-demand. Now on to the stories for this week. I wanted to start with a weird one because I saw this company in the news, and I don't want to knock anyone, but when I've been researching various categories in cybersecurity, I came across Root9B. I feel like they've got like a weird history. I don't know if you guys saw this one.
I feel like you're being conservative when you say a weird history.
I'm trying to be nice. Yeah, I'm trying to be nice because I haven't really validated any of the facts. Other than like I've just seen weird stuff. I did link to an article from Krebs on Security, which is a reputable source that does quote other people who have looked into the history of the company, and it just really like basically it was an anonymous researcher, so one of his sources, whom you could extend that trust to, of course. They said they delved into Root9B's finances because they were public for a while. It was a worthless reverse merger created by insiders with a long history of penny stock wipeouts, fraud allegations, and disaster.
So my understanding, they were in the news a couple of years ago when all that kind of blew up and melted down, is that there were two different Root9Bs.
Yeah,
there were two different companies, and most of that was attached to one side, and then there was, like what we're talking about today was the more legitimate side.
The other side. That still rings exists. A bell too. Yeah, because I want to say I was looking at them for being in like a threat hunting category, and it sounded like there was a services component and a product component to the company, if memory serves me correctly. And then there was all kinds of weird stuff. And then like I stopped tracking them because I thought they got bought before, but they may have sold off another part of the company or whatever. But Deloitte has bought them, but it sounds like this acquisition is for the talent in the services side, because there's some DoD people, former military, that sounds like that's where the company got its start.
There's nothing shady going on there at all. It should be totally fine. Why would Deloitte want to connect their brand with that?
I'm not sure.
Scares the hell out of me.
Because everyone's forgotten 3 years ago.
Except us, because we looked at it and we were like, wait, I remember that. There was some fishy stuff going on. Yeah.
We remember.
Yeah.
We remember.
I can't remember yesterday, so this was new news to me.
So, kind of interesting. It sounds like they were just acquiring the talent. So hopefully,
yeah, it's got to be an acqui-hire kind of thing. Just maybe a little bit of IP, but mostly grabbing the people. But even so, would you want to acquire the people that are affiliated with that? Because 3 years ago, I would imagine the smart talent took off, not wanting to be part of that, out of the drama, right?
Well, I think the other thing too, Tyler, is like their marketing engine. When I went back and read the Krebs article, was amazing. I think that's why it came on my radar as being like in categories inside, because like their marketing was amazing, but it was like very put up on a pedestal, and there was really little behind it, is what the article kind of alludes to. So
all sizzle, no steak.
Yes, that's kind of what the Krebs article was alluding to. So you can read that. Our link to the Krebs article and the announcement is in the show notes. So a stroll down memory lane.
Or maybe Root9B is thinking, do we really want to be associated with Deloitte? How about that?
Could be.
Well played.
Swimlane has raised $40 million to expand the SOAR business. One of the, is it one of the few pure play SOAR vendors left still raising money that hasn't been acquired, right? Because we can, again, go down memory lane, and this is where my memory gets bad, Tyler. Because Palo Alto bought Demisto and not Twistlock. One of them went to Splunk. Phantom went to Splunk. Those were two of the big players, right?
Yeah, CSG Invotus went to FireEye.
Yep. So like all the big security companies bought something in there. It was like, well, they have one, so we need one too, and everyone bought up.
I think you're right.
The pure play SOAR, and Swimlane remains kind of on its own.
I think a few others popped up late, came to the market late, and I can't think of their names off the top of my head, but I think there are a couple other late to market pure plays out there. But
I want to say Simplify, who I believe I had put in the news but didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had something from Simplify in there. I really like Simplify, and they're kind of in that space, but more heavily focused on helping the SOC. And I've done briefings and demos, and I really like Simplify. I thought they had a funding announcement, but
yeah, they're definitely in the source space, but SOC focused.
Yep.
Yeah, what makes this acquisition pretty interesting, though, is that it's a private equity acquisition, so it's not just an infusion of venture capital. It's actually going to be an operating type of scenario.
Oh, so the Swimlane one, is that?
Yeah, if I'm reading it right, funding round was led by private equity firm Energy Impact Partners.
Gotcha.
So they're kind of going in there. My guess is, I don't know anything about Swimlane's revenue numbers, growth rate, run rate, any of that. But it's likely one of those scenarios where we didn't have a place to land.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and get a private equity to infuse a big chunk of cash, take a big chunk of the company itself, and let's make it run leaner, and then maybe find a big place to land.
Yep. That's good, great analysis, Tyler. I agree.
I've been through enough of those squeezing. I've been through enough of the squeezing blood from the turnip acquisitions that I can see them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. Platform9 is making a play in the Kubernetes. I thought it was interesting. So they allow DevOps teams to complete freedom to run multiple versions of managed Kubernetes across staging, production, and development environments. I mean, that alone, just reading that sentence, I'm like, that sounds really complicated. I applaud the DevOps teams that are in that position to even have the requirement to have that software that helps them management. And good Lord, you better hope you have that software to help you manage Kubernetes across multiple different versions of managed Kubernetes across all three environments. It's crazy.
That sounds like hell. I mean, quite frankly, I think they also need somebody in their marketing team to step up and simplify what they're talking about so normal people can understand it.
Well, there's always that.
Yeah. I mean, that's too common. Far too common in these press releases that we read. Yeah,
and the Fortinet one definitely. I don't know if it's a complication issue, more so a terminology issue. So the headline reads: Fortinet announces AI-powered XDR for threat detection, investigation, and response. Very buzzwordy. We've got a segment coming up, I think it's this week, to just talk about on PSW what the heck is XDR. Because you ask different people and you get very different answers. They're calling it FortiXDR, which, I think if you're going to call it something, I like the Forti moniker for Fortinet, right? So it says it's the only solution of its kind to leverage artificial intelligence for the investigation effort critical to incident response. I mean, to say that's a stretch would be putting it nicely. It's more like a flat out lie. Or, I mean, if you don't know about those other solutions, can you claim that? Not really. That's why we're here, right? to call that stuff out. Likely not the only solution to apply AI to the incident response problem.
I don't know about you, Paul, but I can't wait to start testing these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the XDR difficulty and even understanding what XDR is as far as a unified platform for what today, right? So it's just vague on top of vague. And then, of course, we AI it, because if you AI it, it's better.
More likely, machine learning is a good application to the technologies if you were to kind of theorize about what would make up XDR. I come back to my enchanting quadrants. We had a great interview Monday on Business Security Weekly, and Matt from Extra Hop was really kind of aligned with my quadrants, right? So I've got endpoint. You need data from the endpoint. You need data from all your other log sources that we typically call SIM. You need data from the network, and you need threat intelligence to kind of help you sort through it. And not threat intelligence, I've gotten some flack for that, but not just domains and IP addresses, but intelligence as to how attacks are happening so that you can go to those other sources and be able to correlate that. When you look at all those data sources, you need some type of machine learning to help you make sense of it. And applying the right machine learning to the right data sources is where it's at. I don't get any of that kind of analysis from this Fortinet announcement. They're just like, we have XDR and it's AI powered. I'm like,
It's too high level an announcement to really know anything from that. I mean, we'd have to dig into the actual tech and find somebody who can explain how the AI and the ML works, what the clusters are, what the feature vectors are,
right?
What the important points within the machine learning is built upon.
I kind of see two trends across all the stories here. One of them is either adding to the problem. We've got a few EDR announcements here, where they're going to gather more data for you. And the rest of it is, all this data we're gathering, like we don't know how to do anything with it. It's these things are too complicated. Here's a product that's going to help you manage that. So we've got the, SOAR. Yeah, that's what SOAR is all about. Orchestrating and automating things. The Kubernetes announcement, is about managing the mess. The Cygilant and SentinelOne automated cybersecurity again. And it's all along those lines. So at some point, you start to think like, how many products am I buying to fix the issues with the other products I already own?
It's very
expense
true.
in depth.
Ooh, yeah. I like that. Did you just come up with that, or is that?
No. I'm going to attribute that to my friend Rick Holland from a long time ago. He may have made it up. He may have stole it from somebody else, but I love the term.
Yeah, Rick swears it didn't come from him, but I learned it from him also. So I think he definitely gets credited with popularizing it.
Well, and I can see folks easily falling, going down this rabbit hole, because you go back to my quadrants. Well, I need this solution to help me collect data from, the network. Maybe need a couple solutions there. And then I need something to help me collect data from the endpoint. And then I need something that's going to take all the data from all the rest of my stuff and help me make sense of that. And now I've got all these solutions, and I need another solution to help me make sense of all the other solutions. And then, you just go down a rabbit hole.
Well, and we can even throw a little bit more fuel on that fire. Define data, right? So there's data as far as event data, what is happening in the environment. But now there's configuration data, there's operational data, there's security as code data, there's infrastructure as code data. All of that stuff is expanding how we define data. And I'm just so confused and tired of the breadth of point solutions that just overlap. There's the Venn diagrams are so overlapping, it's getting ridiculous.
Yeah. We're going to have some interesting conversations coming up, both I think on our webcast and this week on PSW, is, how much data is enough data? Do you take everything and try and make sense of it? Because there's definitely people in that camp, Google's Chronicle and all their solutions like fall in that camp of, well, just give me everything and I'll help you make sense of it. There's other, I think Deepwatch and talking with their folks, they've got a very different approach. And I'm not saying, it's right or wrong, but it's a different approach, which I think is refreshing. They're like, give me the specific feeds of data, and these are the ones that are more valuable. And there's other folks in that camp as well. What's the answer for you, right? I think it's going to depend on the situation and the talent and the technologies that you have and your processes as to where you fall on that spectrum. But certainly when we talk about epidemiology, I think this is one of the things we were talking about with Mike. I don't know how much we'll talk about it on the webcast, but epidemiology, they're starving for data. In cybersecurity, there is no shortage of data. I mean, because you can turn on a network tap and you can turn some logging on, and you can go to your database and turn on query logging, and boy, you've got a ton of data. There is no shortage of that. But how to make sense of it all is really where we still struggle, and we just, we talk about just glomming on solutions until we get down to the right answer. Is that really helping us get to the right answer or not?
Well, I'm excited about some of the analysis models that are starting to come into play, where it's sure you have data, and any individual data point in isolation is valuable, but you really start to get into value when you understand the relationships between data points. And the problem with that is that it becomes an exponential growth problem, because you may have one piece of data and another piece of data. You had the third one and they all interoperate. You had the fourth one, they all interoperate. And when you're talking billions of data points with a total mesh connected relationship model, the growth gets staggeringly huge and makes analysis so difficult. That's why I think a lot of the technologies are driving towards graph-based analysis for the data analysis side of cybersecurity now.
Just going off on a slightly different tangent, Entrust acquires HyTrust. if we need more confusion in names. I was actually kind of glad to see them both in the same one.
Trust squared.
Right? I think, I don't know if they're going to rename or it's all going to be Entrust, but we see these keywords in a lot of vendor names and they tend to breed some confusion, right? Trust is certainly one of them. So, but they say Entrust adds a critical management layer for encryption, cryptographic keys, and cloud security policies to its digital security solution. Interesting.
I feel like they had to do this because people got them confused so much. They're like, let's just
buy them, right? Could be. Not as confusing. LogRhythm acquires MistNet. The acquisition will allow LogRhythm, according to the report, to deliver intelligent machine learning-based detection and response capabilities that incorporate network detection, user and entity behavior analytics. Well, I haven't used that UEBA term in a while. Endpoint detection and response, or EDR, in addition to the MITRE attack detections to solve current emerging security and risk problems. Wow, that's a mouthful, huh?
Yeah, I think LogRhythm started moving in this direction a while ago, and they were one of the first SIMs that I remember, saying, okay, just collecting the data isn't enough. We need to, start, building out our product, to where it can actually, do some useful analysis of this. And even just a couple years ago, a lot of the traditional older SIM tools. I often describe more as development platforms. It's months before you get any value out of them. You've got to build all your alerts, all your reports from scratch, based on what you need. And it's, I think it's good to see people or to see SIMs heading more in this direction. And I hope it's helping and not just adding, to the alert fatigue problem there.
What they really want to be is a single pane of glass.
Oh, that term. Oh, dear God.
Well, I mean, this is.
I did that just to plant the seed and see what would happen.
I mean, that's part of the, you're going to talk about this, tomorrow, I assume, but that's part of the idea with XDR, right? To put a more useful layer on top of all the data coming out of EDR and network stuff. And, it's leaving less of that to the buyer to have to build themselves. At least I hope that's where it's going. That's what it seems like the value prop is to me.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you look at the quadrants, and most people agree with the quadrants or have some similar variation, and do you get the best of breed for you, right? You evaluate and you get maybe some smaller players that can check some boxes in each of those quadrants, or do you go to someone like a LogRhythm who actually does a fairly decent job in all of those quadrants? Obviously stronger in the SIM quadrant because that's where they came from, but you see a lot of the larger players now in cybersecurity really wanting to play in all those quadrants and bring it all together. And really, the single pane of glass is that marketing term for really like, hey, just come to us. We'll help you get the data from your endpoint, from the network, from all of the rest of your logs, and we'll throw on a layer of threat intelligence on top of that and give you a system to be able to manage and respond to the incidents that arise. Adrian, to your point, I think it's months, right, before you can actually configure that and tune that for your environment for a lot of these solutions. I've not configured LogRhythm's full solution, right? But their customers that have done that seem pretty happy, and they do some really cool things. And there's lots of other vendors in that space. So I think there's we're at kind of like a crossroads moving forward now as to where do you shift your investments, right? Is it that one platform that can take care of a lot of things for you, or do you start tying these other platforms together?
Yeah, and I think well, first of all, what kind of, or is this a generic quadrant we're talking about, or is this a trademarked quadrant we're talking about here?
Oh, this is what I call Paul's enchanted quadrants.
Okay, yes, good.
They're enchanted.
I don't want to get people upset. But yeah, I'm sure Tyler's got an opinion on this too, but the amount of development work it takes to get to value with, I mean, classically with SIMs, even before we threw EDR on top of it, and all the new stuff, the UBEA and that the industry has thrown on top of it. We didn't have the SIM problem solved yet. The only companies I knew that were happy with their SIMs had full-time SIM developers that would just build those reports and take use cases from the security team and implement those. So I still think that's an unsolved problem is getting that to a point to where the average company can achieve that. I mean, just adding log sources, as somebody's pointing out in the Discord, is a huge pain with just about all the SIMs.
I think this is the rise, what I'm going to call the rise of the security engineer. And I think security operations people, they're going to do what they do, analysts, SEC analysts. But in reality, the rise of the security engineer is going to come over the top of that, because security will cease to be an operational discipline or less of an operational discipline and lean heavily into engineering security into your environment, right? And that's where companies like Netflix, Facebook, et cetera, they have huge security engineering teams to deliver on that exact value, integrating tools, gaining data from tools, figuring out how the analytics work at a higher order, right, rather than just a basic tool order. And so I think you're going to see a rise of human resources to get us there until the technology mergers occur that will eventually drive that into the product lines.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that's a trend that, I don't want to say this year. I hate attaching trends to years and stuff like that. But moving forward, I do want to see less of an operational role in security and being more of the role you described, Tyler and Adrian, right? That we're helping put the pieces together and do the architecture, but the actual operations piece are done by the operations folks in development, in IT, right, in ops, in all of those different disciplines, in the help desk, across IT, and security is providing that, is enabling those other business groups, really.
If security is done right, it ceases to become a term. So what I mean by that, if we think back to mobile security, back when mobile security was a thing, in general, at the highest level, mobile security has been done right into those devices. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still hacks, there's still issues, but it's way better than other security platforms, right? And we don't really see mobile security as a vendor market as much anymore because it's kind of baked into what you do. So if we win, security ceases to exist, which is exactly what we would want to strive toward.
Well, it ceases to exist for that one thing, but there's always new things, and security bridges that gap. And I agree. I've always pushed for security as being more of a, consultant firm, consulting group within the company, that you go to with those kinds of questions that are kind of thinking at a higher level, big picture, or even at a tactical level, looking at the threats of the day, to advise the different groups. But when you go in and you look at most security teams, it's all operational stuff. It's like, that's the guy that runs the vulnerability scanner. Like everybody has some dashboard or pane of glass that they log into every morning, log out of before they go home every night. And none of them are really doing security work. They're just managing these tools that we buy, that we spend most of our budget on. And it's kind of a waste. But yeah.
I did want to hit one more story. SonicWall has been in the news, and the headlines have been reading that it's been hit by attackers leveraging a zero-day vulnerability in their own products. I don't see any direct evidence. I don't see, as of like yesterday morning or so, SonicWall having any statements stating that it was in fact a 0-day, unless people have better sources than I do, which is really not saying much. But I did find it interesting that in the article, in an update to this article, SonicWall said they wanted to let us know that the guidance to disable Virtual Office and the HTTPS administrative interface no longer applies. So likely there's not a 0-day in the HTTPS interface if they're recommending that you don't have to turn that off, which could have fueled maybe some of the rumors happening here, but we still don't know what the root cause of this particular breach is unless new news has broken, and I haven't seen it yet, but kind of interesting.
So it's too bad that the chat with Alan is going to be the third segment, because that's an excellent pivot into that conversation. Yeah. Because I suspect he'd say, look, it shouldn't matter whether or not they're hacked at the supply chain level. When your SonicWall or whatever appliances you have start doing weird, suspicious stuff, it should just look like weird, suspicious stuff. You shouldn't be worried about, like, you shouldn't be depending on the news to tell you when your stuff is acting weird.
Right.
And I know that's not easy. Like it's kind of crappy to say that, because, when you're actually trying to operationalize that, you realize how hard it is to create a useful baseline that you can use to point out anomalies.
Cool. One last story. Huntress acquired EDR technology firm Level Effect, and that link is in there for you to read. I think that's all the stories. With that, we'll take a short break and come back with Detectify on DNS hijacking. Stay tuned.